What a custom GPT does, think of it as a prompt that you want to reuse, and maybe you want to give it some knowledge. So like maybe something about your products, for example, if you're a product manager, maybe something about your strategy, if you're more of a C-level executive strategy person. And then you can give it access to tools. So you can say, connect this to Gmail, for example, Google Workspace. What I just described, the custom GPT, is something you can create yourself. But when you think of that, it's basically, when they talk about agents, AI agents, as Ed mentioned, there are really kind of three types of agents, broadly speaking. There's the chat experience that you have, right? When you go directly to ChatGPT. There's the Copilot experience, which is not just Microsoft Copilot. Copilot really means you're in some application that isn't AI, but it has AI embedded on the side. That's a good way to think of it. And it understands the context of what you're currently working on. That's a good way to think of a Copilot. So if you're using Google Workspace, you click a button, you see this Gemini experience. That's actually a Copilot experience as a category, even though it's not called Copilot as a brand. And then finally, we talk about AI agents as being sort of these agentic workflows. They can either do things on your behalf where you're a human in the loop, or they can be fully autonomous. A custom GPT is really that chat experience, that first category. So for example, you can go to Expedia, you can have a AI experience searching for travel. These are all sort of consumer use cases. If you were to create your own board of advisors that's tailored to you and your business, then you would upload knowledge. Ed talked about context. And when we talk about context, that means that ChatGPT and Gemini and these tools, they've been trained on all the information on the internet. They know almost nothing about you and your business, your strategy, and what you need to focus on. So that is the knowledge, that context you upload. And then you give it access to tools. So for example, I gave it a web search in Canvas. Canvas is a specific feature within ChatGPT. You're basically just saying, here are your tools. These are the things that you can use to respond to my questions, right? So it's a prompt. I can add knowledge to give it additional context that I want there all the time. And then I give it capabilities, tools. It can do web search. It can do data analysis.